I mean, I'm being honest about what our arrangement is. But I worry because, you know, we were but 5 minutes into this conversation and you said Emma Vigeland likes the establishment and it doesn't matter what she said. Hang on. It's not about what she said, but it is concerning that there are so many former TYT employees, and let's put Doran Rubin aside, but people like Ben Dixon and Emma Vigeland and even longtime contributors who were editors like Hank. I remember Hank and like the fact that, you know, he helped start the TYT union and now has obviously
nothing.
Okay, but I knew Hank was such a great guy, and Emma and Ben are such. I'm just saying. I'm telling you, these are. But okay, how I'm afraid, man. Like I'm next. Like I don't know what I'm gonna do. That I'm booted out of the castle, and suddenly it's us versus them, and they're. So what does it say about TYT? What does it say about you?
Look out your door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will be there, sir. And oh my gosh, woo, 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 woo. Did we have an ambulance to catch yesterday? Unfortunately, it aired right at the same time as we were live, and we'd already had our, makeup show for being gone for 4 days planned. But as promised, here we are. How you doing this afternoon, Gavin?
I'm doing great. Glad to be back. Welcome everyone to the show. We have a real spicy debate to react to today. Shout out to Francesca Fiorentini of the Bitchuation Room for hosting an absolute smackdown, an absolute expose. We got to watch Cenk Uygur crumble before our eyes, as he lashes out, frankly, in all directions. So we can't wait to take a look at this, guys. As I said, shout out to Francesca over at the Bitchuation Room. Definitely recommend you guys go check out the entire debate on her channel in case you haven't seen it, already. And yeah, this one gets intense, guys. Get ready for some emotional exchanges here. This is real wild.
But enough with the beating around the bush. We know what you guys are here to watch us discuss. You guys know what we're ready to break down for you. And that's Big Balls Francesca, everybody. Holy shit. This lady put her nuts on the table. She said, Cenk, I'm not scared of you. I don't care that you sign my checks. I don't care that you're a narcissist. I don't care that you might lash out at me. I am a principled person in the progressive media space, and I am here to hold you accountable. That is my job. That's what she did. She went in there and she locked horns, and she made Cenk look like a fraud, which is what he kind of is. Here we go.
What you are doing and what you believe you are doing. And I want to just explain, by showing. And I want to ask you what you think the goal is of what you are doing. But here was a moment where you were on TPUSA's on Turning Point USA's conference, and Charlie Kirk, who is a Christian nationalist, he's an avowed Christian nationalist. TPUSA has had wildly racist and white supremacists associated with them, including inviting people like Nick Fuentes to speak. No matter what you think of his thoughts on BlackRock, here is him asking you about left media. And I gotta say, Cenk, this one sucked real hard for me. And you also, I think, have been using these opportunities to talk a lot about the left to the right.
I think the left has some work to do in developing over-the-top media to be able to bypass the main networks.
Yeah, so we have TYT as a giant network, but we have a lot of great progressive and populist shows that are not part of TYT that's in the left-wing ecosystem.
I just want to stop and say I'm excited to hear which ones you like, given that you just sort of insulted Emma Vigeland just now. I'm curious which ones you actually do still support that aren't your own, but I'm going to keep going, Cenk. Hang on.
So I don't think that that's the issue. I don't think that there isn't enough shows. I think that there's a couple others. One, on the right, you guys do a great job of coalescing. Okay, so you do a couple of things well. You work together well, and you're more welcoming, if I'm being honest.
We're glad Cenk's here, right, everybody?
What the Like, we have already heard this, but like, just imagine having somebody play that back to you and you're looking at a room of white nationalists and you're like, thank God you guys are so welcoming to me because I'm helping you sell your line of bullshit. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
And a lot of people on the left know this as well. If you agree with MAGA 5%, the answer you get is welcome, right? Come join us, right? On the left, if you disagree 5%, they go, get out of here, you're a right-winger, you're a fascist, right? But if you push enough people out and you guys welcome enough people in, eventually you win the popular vote. That's what I warned them about, and that's what happened, right?
Okay, so there you are, and you know.
Yeah, love it. Stick with 100% of what I just said there. I'm 100% right about that. So let's discuss.
Yeah.
Look at how it's like a bummer for her, guys. Like, we're laughing because Cenk is hanging himself. She's giving him all the rope, and she just, she let him out into an empty field. It's a little brisk. It's 2 a.m. A little smelly. She hands him a shovel and says, dig. And he's just getting right after it. He's just digging and digging and digging. But every time he does it, she's just standing there like, Jesus Christ, like, what the hell happened to you, man?
Yeah, let's discuss. You had your say there, and you've been saying various degrees of that same thing. And I gotta say, like, I watched this whole I watched the whole clip, and it started off, and I was like, this is pretty good. This is good. Like, pretty good interview. I like that you're sitting down. It wasn't bad. This moment, like, truly a part of me died when I watched this.
Wow, I can't believe that.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. Oh, super. Just like shriveled up and died, floated away into the ocean. Here's what happens. Couple things. He asks you about left-wing media and why there isn't more left-wing media. Which already, as you are there, in the sort of kingdom of turning points, is like, that's such a dig. Like, why are you guys so weak is effectively what he's saying. And instead of pointing out the way that TPUSA has been bankrolled by Republican mega donors out of Chicago and many other places for years now, and talking about how the Daily Wire was funded by the Fracking brothers, the Wilkes brothers. Now they're fishing for new, investors, whatnot, but that there is so much money on the right. He handed this answer to you on a fucking platter, and all you said was, you know what? You guys are really good at being welcoming. People just like you. Cenk, they've got all the money.
I didn't say people just
what
like
are you
me.
talking about? That's effectively what you're good at coalescing. And here's my question to you about so that's just number one on the media, because that just stings because I'm in media. But on the 5.
Don't worry, friend. He wasn't talking about you. He was talking about us.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like, it's what's so disgusting about what Cenk does. It's what's so disgusting about what he's doing, right? He'll say, "Oh, well, watch the Young Turks. Watch the Young Turks. We're still saying the same stuff. We still, we're still like Bernie Sanders and we're progressives or whatever." But what about what you say when you're behind our fucking backs? You know what I'm saying? What about what you say when you're behind the back of your goddamn audience, your once loyal viewership that built the channel up to where it is? Guess what you're doing behind their back? You're shitting on the left, you're shitting on progressives, and you're shitting on your own fucking employees. When you insult progressive media, when you insult left-wing media, you're shitting on Francesca, you're shitting on John Iadarola and Dr. Rashad Ritchie and all these people that you've employed, because guess what? You still do hire and employ a lot of left-wing commentators and channels. And yeah, it's stabbing them behind the back. It's shitting on them when they have no ability to defend themselves or to point out the obvious, aspects of this dynamic, which Cenk is excluding, that Francesca mentioned.
Well said.
Percent. If you disagree with MAGA 5%, they still welcome you. How did that work out for Liz Cheney?
Yeah. So look, is there a part of MAGA that'll push you out? Of course. That's what we know MAGA for.
When did they?
More like, how did that work for Mike Pence?
Yeah.
They push you out, Cenk. When did they push you out?
Largely when you disagree with Trump.
Exactly.
So listen,
this is the thing that it's the unspoken thing that you're never saying, that ultimately it's all hunky-dory. Elon can tweet back at you. Vivek can listen to you. But if you defy Donald Trump, the God Emperor, you're kicked out of the castle. And no one's defending Liz Cheney. Screw both their castle and the other castle. But Liz Cheney voted with Donald Trump 98% of the time. And just the 1% when she was like, hey, you know what? You can't do a coup on this country. And Adam Kinzinger, and they were gone.
Yeah, Gavin, how badly did Liz Cheney lose her primary in what had been previously a safe seat for her?
70% or some shit.
Brutal.
So miss me with this 5% BS, yo.
So, all right, Franny, a whole bunch of things here. So, number one, you're right. That's definitely how Turning Point started. Daily Wire certainly started that way. I don't know what their current funding is, but they seem to have a lot more funding than any of us do. So you're right, and I have said that in the past, and I probably should have put that in there in that particular appearance, and I will mention that, and that'll really grate on their nerves, but I've got no problem telling their audience, and I tell
Here's why he didn't do that, guys. He was hawking himself to those donors. He's like, Fred, I'm trying to pay the bills for my empire. He's like, those people, you know what? Right now it's the Poly Market Studio. Now, next it might be the Frackin' Brothers Studios. Who knows? If we do it really well next year, I'm open to making it the Coca-Cola or Pepsi studio.
Yeah, next time he's on stage at the TP USA, he'll make sure to include that critique, though, of right-wing media. I'm sure he'll get a line in next time he's up on that stage.
All the time. No, you guys have way more money. And they're always shocked by that. And I'm like, because they're swimming in money and don't realize how much we're starving out here on the left, right? Sure. So, and I talked on Tim Pool's show about that, etc. Now, when it comes to the 5%, 95%, yeah, I hear you. So it's that when you disagree with Trump, especially in the past, especially in the first term, et cetera, you're a goner, right? But they are pushing back even on Trump now. So again, on things that we don't agree with, but on COVID, for example, they thought that Trump did too much COVID protections, et cetera. And there was, and this is really encouraging. When I talk about team.
So this totally irrelevant issue that did practically cost him the election the first time, that nobody talked about and had been roundly forgotten. He folded on it. He moved on. It had no material impact on his ability to campaign, finance, or govern. So yeah, he just stopped talking about it. Yeah, that's the kind of shit he'll fold on. Okay, you can get politicians to ignore something for 8 months. That's not a victory.
Miriam, Marco Rubio, Elise Stefanik, Mike Huckabee, and Mike Walz. So those are the four that put in by the neocons put in by Miriam Adelson. In the old days, when I would have gotten Franny is, no way, they're the greatest. They're not neocons. You're a liar. Trump picked them. Trump's the best. Now what I'm getting from the right-wing host, which is amazing, and let alone the base, they're all saying, yeah, I hear you. We got concerns about them. We got concerns.
Concerns about
them. So that's the thing I
never
fucking
cares?
Before.
Who fucking cares? They're not in charge. Trump is. Trump's going to shove those people through, all the neocons. Whether or not the base likes it, they're going to have to fucking get over it. Just like they had to get over it when John Bolton was appointed by Donald Trump and Mike Pompeo. And get over it, they fucking did. Did you hear a single goddamn MAGA supporter abandon Donald Trump because of his appointments of ghouls like that? Neocons like John Bolton, people like Mike Pompeo who tried to assassinate Julian Assange. They didn't give a fuck. They didn't give a fuck, but now they come out here and pretend like they're more pro-Assange than anyone. It's so stupid.
So that is a change. Now, in terms of the concept that I'm referring to, the 5%, 95%, but Franny, we're in the middle of that right now. This is the perfect example. So I started the largest progressive network. I've given, dozens of progressives opportunities they didn't have before. I started Just Democrats, et cetera, et cetera. The minute I disagree, like 5% on trans issues or crime, everybody's like, right wing, fascist, right wing. Almost every show is saying that. Almost every show. So you telling me that you don't push people out? You're pushing out the movement overall. At least the online left movement seems to be trying to push out the one network that has helped progressives more than any other network, and it's not in dispute. But my God, we have 5% disagreement. So tear it down.
Also, that's such bullshit. There's no tearing. No one wants to tear down TYT. If what they want is for TYT to go back to being fucking awesome. TYT used to be good, and now it sucks, and people are pointing that out. But there's a million opportunities where Cenk and Anna could have just addressed the criticism in good faith. They could have gone on the shows of their critics, and I'm not even talking about us. We're irrelevant in this situation, but I'm talking about everyone else who ever had an issue with them and who's a respectable voice in this community. They could have gone on the shows. They could have addressed the criticism. They could have, guess what? Maybe recalculated. What a mind-blowing thing, right? But guess what, Cenk? You're not God. And sometimes it is important to look around and all your friends are calling you out. Maybe they're right. Maybe they're onto something. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing if like one person is like, hey, dude, I don't think this is the right decision. And you're like, well, this is what I believe, so I'm going to do it on principle. I agree. That's fine. But if all of your friends and all of your family is telling you, hey, this is a bad idea, these look like red flags to us, then maybe you should take them seriously. Is that crazy?
No, it's called having common sense and using your community to keep you in check, right? It's the same way that people who find massive amounts of success and maintain a semblance of normalcy, it's because they don't change the crew that they brought to the dance. That's one thing that Gavin and I have understood. Like, don't forget where you fucking come from, right? Like, don't leave your roots behind. Don't fuck off some other place just because you got a little bit of bread in your basket. You know what I'm saying?
Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead and finish your point, because I just want to have everybody watch. This is the first of many, but a major crash out. This is what you do when you're unhinged and you're desperate. This is flailing. This is when you back a dog in the corner and all it can do is just bite, right? He knows he's got.
That has helped progressives more than any other network, and it's not in dispute. But my God, we have 5% disagreement. So tear it down. This is the destructive extreme left that I honestly, that portion, that kind of destructive attitude is poison. It's not just poison to us, it's poison to our chances of winning, because we keep pushing people out, keep pushing people out, and then all of a sudden we lost all the swing states and we lost the popular vote. I'm trying to get our side to wake up, snap out of our hypnosis of we hate, and we hate the right wing, and they're all white supremacists, and they're all racist, and they're all sexist, and we hate, and we never go in the room with them, we hate. What the hell happened to us? And no one's allowed to disagree. We're now authoritarian. No.
Wait,
I
Cenk,
rebel.
can I just clarify?
I will never allow the left to be authoritarian, and this idea of just hating the other side.
Here comes the fucking Matt Taibbi bullshit. It's the same thing. How many times do I fucking have to hear this? The left is the new authoritarians because people got mad at me on Twitter. Someone made a video about me, so now the left is authoritarian. Meanwhile, MAGA just took over and they're actual fucking fascists. Get the fuck out of here. This is so stupid.
You don't understand. They've been talking about Republicans being fascists my entire life. This whole Democrats being fascists is something that only occurred when I reached middle age, you know? As soon as I started having to treat my own male pattern baldness and my wife started grieving my hairy back, I just started thinking that, you know what, maybe it really is the trans kids after all.
Side is poison.
You know what's so funny about you calling the left authoritarian is that you think the left has power. Like, I love that you think
total nonsense.
We are on the precipice of real authoritarianism and real fascism, and you believe that the online left are the authoritarians. I mean, I don't know how to tell you. You sound like Bill Maher and Nancy Pelosi had a kid and it came out, Cenk Uygur. And let me just ask you though, so what shows on the left do you like that aren't on the TYT network?
Yeah.
So I love the Vanguard. Vanguard's my favorite podcast. Silly and Billy, you know, they break my balls, but.
So I said, look, there's a lot of good popular shows on the left that I like. And it's because there are. So Breaking Point's a good show. Kyle Kalinski's Secular Talk.
2 shows with 1 million+ subs. You're really uplifting the community, Cenk.
So he was against me going on MAGA. I haven't seen his video, but Kyle's been against us a couple of times. But I largely didn't hold a grudge on that.
But even wait, let me just start.
The way that he presents that, Kyle's been against us. They disrespected us. They lied about us.
Just tell you. First of all, you had a great conversation with Crystal Ball. I think she made some really good points to you on. I think it was on Breaking Points. Kyle has, I think, been very disturbed, especially by your appearance with Charlie Kirk. But what you just said there, they've been against us. I really want to just dig into this idea that, because you're a fighter, man. That's cool. That's great. But like, you really do have a very I almost want to call it Bush-like, Cheney-like, you're with us or against us attitude.
100% wrong.
I would categorize it as a Trumpian philosophy.
Literally, I love that you're proving my point. But when I say this, you truly you sound like people are either against you, but if they criticize you, They are not. And yet here you are, Cenk, telling the entire right wing that all you want to do is break bread with them, that you want to debate with them, but afterward you want to go have a beer.
Yes, I do.
You want to have a beer with people who want to put people in mass deportation camps. They want to deport.
You think we're going to get put in camps? You sound all right. Anyway,
you think I sound crazy? They're starting with Chinese people. That's my fucking family, dog. Like, what are you talking about?
That's such an excuse. Okay, they're going to start with Muslims. They're going to start with my people.
To be fair, actually, they're starting with the asylum seekers south of the border, and you don't give a fuck about them, Cenk.
Okay, sure. So stop hiding behind vulnerable communities.
I'm hiding behind vulnerable communities.
Yes, you are. You're using them as
standing in front of vulnerable communities. Cenk, what are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm in front of vulnerable communities. I'm the most endangered friend.
By tweeting at Elon Musk? Please
don't. From your gated community, you asshole.
Yeah, he's like a fucking like white rhinoceros in Africa. I'm the most endangered among us. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? What is this like oppression Olympics bullshit? He's like, don't hide behind vulnerable communities, but actually my community is more vulnerable, so I'm gonna do that too.
Fucking crazy.
This is so funny. Look at Franny's expression too. That's hilarious.
That's the reaction we've all made whenever Cenk opens his mouth. It's both sadness, horror, and just like almost comedy.
Oh, help me. Come on, Cenk. This is so sad. That's so sad.
Let's
take it down. Let's simmer down. No. Simmer down. Let me just ask you. Real honest to God.
You already said 12 things that I need to respond to. Can I respond to them?
No, I want to ask you a question. Of course not. Let's talk about you going on these shows. Just simmer down. Let me ask you one question. Imagine if Kamala Harris had won. Okay, she wins. She wins the popular vote. She wins obviously the Electoral College. Incredible, first female president, blah, 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 all this stuff. And Tucker Carlson started making all these rounds on like really like progressive leftist shows, went on Kyle's show, went on my show. I'm like, who the hell? Started reaching out and wanting to talk and wanting to come to agreement on things. What would that look like to you?
Yeah, it would look like Tucker was trying to reach out. Tucker's a bad example because I would be surprised if he did that. But okay, yeah, no.
Well, let's hear actually from old Cenk really quickly, everybody. Let's hear what Cenk thought about Tucker's attempts in the past to appeal to progressives and see if he was able to see through it a little more clearly with a little more nuance at that time. Gavin, have you seen this clip?
I have, yeah.
Tucker even called me when I was running for Congress. I won't divulge anything that was in the private conversation, but I now realize, looking back at all the different solicitations and how they're like, oh, we could have you on air, we're gonna have you on air. Every time I clarified, I'm happy to go on air and talk about the parts where we agree. I'm happy to talk about the parts where we disagree, but I will never not point out our disagreement, okay? And so they tried a couple times, etc., and then all of a sudden they stopped. Well, it turns out it's kind of a grooming process. And so they're like poking, prodding, cajoling, and I don't want to say seducing. That sounds too wrong in this.
You already used all sorts of words that made me uncomfortable. So
I know, right? So why does we'll finish it? Anyway, come this way. We're gonna agree, etc. And then if you notice, even good progressives that go on air on Tucker's show on Fox News, they almost never disagree. And so there'll be some Fox News programs where disagreement is allowed, or they'll have a Democratic consultant on. But 9 out of 10 times it'll be to say, now Republicans are of course right about everything, but we're so sorry for what we've done.
Boom. What does Cenk spend the entire time on stage with Charlie Kirk doing? Exactly what he blatantly called out here with Tucker Carlson, and what he tap dances around with Tucker Carlson because he knows Francesca will burn him with his previous analysis on that matter if he dives in any deeper.
Yup.
No problem.
What would it look like to you?
I wouldn't. And do I think that Tucker would be selling out? No, there's no chance.
No. Well, I'm not. It's not about selling out. What would that like? What would it just seem like? Hey, man, we can agree. Yeah, you know what? I did say that Kamala Harris was a DEI hire and she's basically a communist, but now I just feel like I've antagonized you and I'm here to like break bread and let's talk and let's get stuff done. What would that look like to you?
It would look surprising, but I wouldn't care. I'd find it interesting. Why? What does it look like to you?
I mean, to me, if Tucker Carlson did that, I'd be like, oh, we fucking won. We won like crazy. We won so resoundingly. He's doing an apology tour because 3 ghosts visited him in the middle of the night and he's completely changed his tune because he wants to throw down with the winners. We are crushing it. And I saw in that moment, you want me to play it for you? When Charlie Kirk goes, "We're glad Cenk's here, everybody." And that was the feeling that I think a lot of right-wingers...
That's such a beautiful moment. Francesca prepared for this debate in just a fucking amazing way. I have to give her credit. We've watched a few people take on Cenk, from Jordan Ewell to Mark Lamont Hill. I have to give it to Francesca. She has done so far the best job, and it's not even close. It's not even close. And I think when you do, use that analogy and kind of put the shoe on the other foot, it just becomes obvious. Like, first of all, no right-winger would accept that. If all of a sudden Kamala Harris won and people like Tucker Carlson started buddying up to us on the left and to the ideas of the Democrats, are you fucking kidding me? They would not stand for it. They would not stand for it. But I think when you look at it from that perspective, it does become all the more obvious what Cenk is doing. And when you put it that way, yeah, he is going on an apology tour. He is 100% going on an apology tour to try to become friends with the people who won, in his opinion so resoundingly that he has no choice but to join their cool kids table.
Exactly, 100%. And it's a walking line between being a circus and a carny act. He's basically the geek. He's the guy that they're pointing and laughing at. And I think the example that Francesca highlighted is the perfect moment in that, where it's just that sly chuckle where he's like, this guy doesn't even, it's like, it's one of those cruel jokes that you watch in like a high school Degrassi type television show where they're all making fun of this kid, but he's so desperate to be part of the group. He doesn't understand that, like, oh no, you're not actually our friend. Like, we're just here to laugh at you.
That when they look at you, Cenk, where they're like, damn, yo, we crushed so hard. Even this guy is turning now.
Yeah, except I'm not turning. I've said it 2,000 times.
I'm just saying what it would look like. I'm just saying what it would look.
Keep saying it like it's true when it isn't remotely true. But okay, let me address it. So, okay, number one, you're empirically wrong, because guess what's happening? Matt Gaetz has reached out to us, Tucker Carlson, to come on our shows. And so it's your exact analogy, okay? Patrick Bet-David, et cetera, and they won. They're still trying to come on the Young Turks. Why? Because they're trying to have a conversation, not because they want to do an apology tour. They think they are ascendant, but nevertheless, they want to talk to the left.
But you had to make it's because they think that
your version of the left says, no way, we never talk to the other side. But we're not authoritarian.
Cenk, that's not true.
We're not authoritarian. You're not allowed to disagree 1%, but we're not authoritarian. We have no power, so we're not authoritarian. So that's not how it works, Franny. And the establishment Democrats are also authoritarian. So what do they say? You must agree with Kamala Harris, otherwise that's it. You're a heretic and you're being driven out from the party. You know that. The establishment Democrats have done that to us for the last 20 years. Don't tell me.
Yeah, except none of us ran to CPAC afterwards.
That there's no power on the left. There's tons of power on the left. And when the swarm comes, the left-wing swarm, oh, you'd like to be called a woman. You racist, fascist, terror transport. What? I'm not authoritarian. No, that is an authoritarian mindset. Just you don't have to have power to have an authoritarian mindset. And there's different versions of power.
I like how he snuck that in. You like to be called a woman, so you're a fascist. He's so clearly just like carrying the torch for his girl.
No, you're good. Power. There's social media power. There's mainstream media power. There's political power. There's all sorts of different power. So look, guys, the left. First of all,
there's also just money and actual power.
It gets back to the we.
When Cenk calls the left authoritarian, literally, I shit you not, all he's talking about is that we don't fucking prioritize his literal feelings when we give our commentary on what's happening. Like, I'm not even kidding you guys. That is what he's saying. He's saying they don't care enough about how I feel and how it hurts my feelings when you're mean to me, and therefore you're authoritarian. Bro, we've literally offered to have you on our show to debate. So is Sam Cedar. So is anyone else who's ever made fun of you, bro. It's not authoritarian to disagree with someone. You know what I'm saying? Especially when that someone is like 1,000,000 times bigger and more influential than you are.
Well, Gavin, you're forgetting to include all of the 75 people he's hired and made careers out of. You should really be thinking about those folks when you deliver your YouTube commentary. Okay.
Yeah, they're gonna starve now. They're gonna be out on the streets.
It's all
as
your
we're gonna
fault.
hear later.
Gavin took the food out of 75 hardworking
too.
Los Angelinos'
Hey,
mouth.
you got some of this blame too, bro. Not just
kidding.
me.
No, dude, I was just here. I was along for the ride. I was just here to yep. You know, I'm like the dog in the back seat when you're on a road trip. He just barks at everything along the way. Gavin has to drive the car. Okay.
Ask me politically, who do I represent? I represent the great majority of left-wing voters. The great majority of left-wing voters are not pro-establishment. They get tricked by mainstream media into voting in that direction. It drives me absolutely nuts. But when you ask them about policies, they agree with us completely on policy.
We're about to move to another timestamp, so it's not that big of a deal. But how the fuck can Cenk be like, I'm so against Joe Biden, I'm so against corporate Democrats, but also I represent the majority of Democratic voters? I'm sorry, but in the last couple primaries, the majority of Democratic voters supported the corporate establishment Democrat. So what do you mean? I thought you fucking hated those people. It makes no goddamn sense. It's completely illogical. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's actually, I was looking, I didn't hear that last.
Oh, it's all good. I was just saying, like, you know, Cenk claims to speak for the majority of Democratic voters, but then will rail against corporate Democrats like Joe Biden, ignoring the fact that the majority of Democratic voters chose Joe Biden over fucking Bernie Sanders.
That is a great point. And the only thing that I would respond to is to point out that the Republicans, they act like there was this tremendous stride for the Republicans, and there was like some growth. But the real story is how many people voted in 2020, young people, how many people, and then didn't really feel the need to vote for the Democrats again. That's a way bigger story, particularly if you look at the last decade. Look at the election turnouts from 2012, let's say, because that's a better look at it. So say 12 years, right, to 2024. The Democrats are losing even more and more of their base. There's an erosion, right? It's very similar to what happened in 2016, but worse, right? But that doesn't mean that, somehow the vast majority of the actual country is MAGA. No, they just have a real, sweltering hold on a large part of the active voting electorate.
Okay, I accept that. I just want to say, lastly, I worry about our relationship because I don't have to, like, we may grow distant, you know what I mean? I'm trying to delve more into my show. I still love going on John's show and Dr. Richie's show. That's in the TYT network. This show is on the podcast network of TYT. There's no money that really exchanges hands. You guys do help me with the podcast hosting, so I appreciate that. So I may owe y'all money. Do you know what I'm saying? But I'm just being honest. Like,
don't know anybody.
I mean, I'm being honest about what our arrangement is. But I worry because we were but 5 minutes into this conversation, and you said Emma Vigeland likes the establishment, and it doesn't matter what she said. Hang on. It's not about what she said, but it is concerning that there are so many former TYT employees, and let's put Doran Rubin aside, but people like Ben Dixon and Emma Vigeland, and even longtime contributors who were editors, like Hank. I remember Hank, and like the fact that he helped start the TYT union, and now has obviously
nothing.
Okay, but I knew Hank was such a great guy, and Emma and Ben are such. I'm just saying. I'm telling you, these are. But okay, how I'm afraid, man. Like, I'm next. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. That I'm booted out of the castle, and suddenly it's us versus them. And so what does it say about TYT? What does it say about you? That there's so many former employees who are on our side ostensibly, who you have so much disdain for.
So, Franny, if you're next and I have this secret nefarious plan to push people out, why am I on here? Why would I come on here and talk to you for now nearly 2 hours when if I'm planning to push you? That doesn't make any sense. So number two, some people have left the network, and don't exclude Doran Rubin, because Doran and Rubin and some others they went right, but some others went left or far left or whatever.
You called yourself the home of progressives and said we're the home of Bernie Sanders leftists. What the hell do you think your audience is made up of, bro? That's just a crazy gaslighting position. And also, Gavin, I have a question for you as our resident, anthologist of everything that's happened on the internet. Do you think this really comes down to the beef between him and Majority Report? Is just it all goes back to Emma leaving for New York?
I mean, that might be part of it.
He just seems like he has like a real like beef with Emma in particular, Emma and the Majority Report out of other names. I'm just wondering if you think that has anything to do with the fact that he's bitter that Sam Seder poached somebody that he viewed as like sharp talent.
True. That's probably a good point.
But some group of them have the same agenda. Come watch me, come subscribe to me, not the Young Turks. I'm the morally pure one. I'm the right one. I'm the one that's right. And they're all evil and terrible. And don't give them money. Give me money. Right. So let's keep it real. So is that everybody? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay. So a good example is Mondale Robinson. I like Mondale, and he has the similar ideological problem as you do. And he decided one day, that's it, I'm quitting. Right.
Yeah.
And so, but bless his heart. That's what God made doors for. Okay, so, and now he's attacking me and saying I'm in league with racists and stuff like that. Okay, that's his opinion, right? But when people cross a line like Rubin and Dorr and Sam Seder, etc.,
what
and others,
how are you gonna put Sam's name in line with Rubin and Dorr? Like, he's almost walking back to being somewhat relatable in this exchange where he's like, you know what? That's what God made doors for. Who cares? Let bygones be bygones. And if you were trying to find a positive clip of Cenk in this entire exchange, I think that's the one you would go with, where he's like, oh, he takes criticism. Fine. Look at this.
I think Ben Dixon was right, though. He's just afraid of Mondale. Because he's always way nicer to Mondale than
That's probably true.
But yeah, it is so fucking, it's ridiculous and the most blatant example of projection yet. We're clearly in that list of people with Dave Rubin and Jimmy Dore. You're the third stooge, bro. That's your fucking crowd. Sam Seder has nothing to do with those people. He has not changed a single one of his positions. He has not done anything even remotely resembling a right-wing grift or a pivot. You are in the middle of doing it. Or, you want to gaslight us and say that's not what's happening. But I mean, don't believe your fucking lying eyes is essentially what you're telling everyone. If it walks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it's a fucking duck. What you're doing is no different. What you're doing is no different than Jimmy Dore. In fact, it might be even more blatant. Like, honestly, I think
Less
it might be
sophisticated for sure.
Yeah. Like when Jimmy went on Tucker Carlson's show or whatever, which Cenk called him out for and had no tolerance for whatsoever, as you guys saw in that clip. Jimmy, to be fair, at least did make some good points about Assange. He kind of, I think Tucker later credited him for, changing his mind on that subject matter. What the fuck has Cenk accomplished? Nothing. And again, I will never fucking give Jimmy Dore credit. Only in this context am I willing to even say that. But, and again, not to defend Jimmy Dore. What he did was as obvious and blatant as it fucking gets. But Cenk is doing nothing different. It's the same fucking movie you've already seen. Like, it's just the same shit done more lazily. Like I was talking about the other day with the Disney remakes. Cenk is like the Lion King 2019. Jimmy Dore is the original. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And they say, oh, Cenk's just has this evil plan, and he's doing it for money, and he's a grifter, and he works with the CIA, or he works with this.
Does he work for the CIA, Gavin? I haven't heard that before.
Also, Cenk's the one that accused us of being Republican plants or Republican ops. Remember? He was like, if I was a Republican op, I would create channels like the Vanguard to destroy the left and destroy the Democrats. Or so he credited us with destroying the Democrats. You know what I'm saying? We're very powerful over here at the Vanguard. But yeah, who the fuck is calling Cenk CIA? Well, I have never called Cenk CIA. I've never implied that he's anything other than a greedy capitalist fucking swine piece of shit.
Well, Gavin, from my penthouse hedge fund management office in Wall Street, where I move many, many, thousands of transactions at any moment you know, with my large access to Wall Street wealth and my vast financial knowledge and my, you know, affluent upbringing, it's really set the table for me to be the Gen Z Wolf of Wall Street that, you know, Cenk uncovered as my secret identity on air one night.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Zac literally, the one Vanguard video, which Cenk has apparently seen, Zac talked about how his like 8 months in venture capital radicalized him so much into becoming a leftist. And Cenk's takeaway from that was one of those guys is a Wall Street banker, so they're not really men of the people.
Which is so hilarious, guys. To be a grown man and a businessman, I'm sorry if you don't work in business, but this guy lives in fucking California. Venture capital does not happen in New York City on Wall Street, you fucking idiot.
This guy or that guy. Okay, now you're lying. And you're lying in like extreme ways. So like this whole thing of like Sam, for example, analogized me to a Nazi, but he's done 1,000 things. That's just one of them.
He also never did that. I did finally get somebody to send us a clip where there's like a vague comparison and Cenk's name gets brought up, but it is not him calling him a Nazi, which is hilarious because Cenk literally has a pull quote that's the headline of a Crystal Kyle and Friends video called "He's a Nazi," and it's about Donald Trump, and he'll be like, "I was never one of those lefties that called Donald Trump a fascist or a Nazi,"
and he just called the whole left authoritarian. So like, what the fuck? Sam didn't even actually call you a Nazi, but you're gonna call the entire left authoritarians, and then we're not allowed to punch back. You always went to, oh well, I'm just punching back. Yeah, that's what we have to fucking do because you're constantly insulting us and blaming us for the failures of elite corporate Democrats like Kamala Harris.
Dead ass.
And then when I go, hey, hold on. When I say cut that crap out, and they're like, oh, we're the victims. Oh, I just said you were a grifter and that you're lying to people and you're cheating people. And I said you might be a Nazi and you're definitely a right winger, but I'm the innocent one. I can't believe Cenk counterattacked after I punched him in the face 20 times. I can't believe a poor little angel.
But he believes in saving Social Security and cutting the Pentagon. So can you give him credit for that and work with him?
Oh yeah, of course. So I mean, if Sam's gonna vote to save the Social Security and not cut Social Security, I'm not the guy who says I don't want his vote, right? I just don't have to go on his stupid show and agree with his stupid ideas.
Okay, but you just, again,
how is that any different from what we say about the Young Turks? That's what I want to know, Cenk. How is it any different when you come up on your show and you talk shit on the Majority Report, which is your contemporary, right?
He's punching back.
Yeah, right. We're punching back at you for having dog shit takes and, you know, vacuuming up a lot of progressive real estate and then filling it with centrist liberalism.
Yep.
Stupid. Again, these are words that you reserve.
Okay,
why do you?
Randy, if I called you a Nazi and I said you're a right winger and you're secretly taking money from Pelosi and Charlie Kirk.
Oh, we didn't say you were secretly taking money from anyone. We made it public to everyone that you took $20 million from Jeffrey Katzenberg, almost billionaire founder of DreamWorks Studio, and then that you named your studio Polymarket Studio, and we did a little investigating into seeing what kind of cost that would be. So actually, those are all things you did do, Cenk. We don't have to make up lies.
Then, hey, and you said, hey, and you got angry with me. Wouldn't that be a rational reaction?
I think there's been a conflation with.
Reaction be, oh, I love Cenk. I love that he called me a Nazi. I can't wait to work with him. No, he's a freaking grifter. That's all he's ever done. He literally told me that he was trying to take Jimmy Dore's audience because Jimmy's was bigger.
Good.
So he wanted to.
You remember what Jimmy Dore did to me? You remember the reason Jimmy Dore is. The reason Jimmy Dore was out the door was in part what he did to me, and you and I talked about that at the time. It was when he had to finally face the fucking music and be like, "Hey, you cannot bully another not employee but a contributor."
Granny? I stood up for you, right?
You did.
And to Cenk's credit, I think he probably would have stood up for her. And
I hear what she says real quick before you.
It had to get bad, but you did. He had also been. I mean, he had been.
You're right, he did, but I think he viewed Jimmy as an asset and only wanted to deal with the problem until it became undeniable.
I think that's totally fair. And I think that what it comes down to in that circumstance is he wants to be viewed as the man. He wants to be viewed as the boss. So that was the point that I was going to just chuck in there, is that it's not so much out of virtue for protecting Fran. It's the fact that he has to run a tight ship. You know what I mean? And if you actually read the text message, it's god awful. Gavin showed it to me one time. You brought it up earlier. He's literally on vacation in Rome, did you say?
I think Venice, yeah.
Venice, fucking crazy. Any of us would fucking die to go there for 5 days. And
Right.
yet he's still thinking about something rude to say to his colleague back home.
Yeah, look up Jimmy Dore, Francesca Fiorentini texts, and immediately a Reddit thread will pop up, and you can read through all these unhinged exchanges. Not even exchanges, just it's her being like LOL in response to him sending an unhinged tirade, which, by the way, is absolutely workplace harassment, verbal abuse. You should not have to tolerate that from your fucking coworker, even if you work at a news show. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I won't leak my DMs from Gavin when he thinks I have a poor performance. He'll be like, God, what a bombing effort, dude. Jesus Christ. I wish I had some Rotten Tomatoes to throw. You were staking. No, I'm kidding.
Going the way of the dodo for a long time. But I just want to say, like, so it doesn't say anything about TYT, that there are these former employees who really, and I just want to, back to the last thing I'm going to say is, people really liked you. They really did. They really, and they looked up to you.
She said,
and they thought of you as a comrade, a boss, a co-conspirator in this grand, political project to really change this country, to make it more democratic. And it really is, I have to say, like, there's a thin line between love and hate. And even these channels that are hell-bent on being like, Cenk's this, Cenk's that, you know what? They were all massive Cenk fans. I think we all are a little bit. And so I just want to say, like, it is sad to us to see you, honestly, act like very small when in fact you could be a lot bigger.
So, Franny.
Yeah, do you want to jump in first, Gavin? Because you're the longtime Cenk fan.
Yeah, I mean, that really hit me hard because I totally agree with Francesca. I was a huge fan of Cenk. Obviously, I think he inspired a lot of people in the space. Kyle Kalinske talks about how back in the early days of Secular Talk, he was basically just ripping off Cenk Uygur. I think he said he was basically just doing like a combination of a Cenk ripoff and a Bill Maher ripoff back when he was first starting Secular Talk, because that's all those were his favorite commentators, right? And I think everyone can kind of relate to that in the space. And it's why it is so sad to see what's happening. But yeah, I think she articulated that beautifully, and shout out to Francesca for forcing him to confront that fact, because it's something we've been saying for a while. It's not like we just woke up with a hate boner for Jimmy Dore, like Anna said, they have a hate boner for me or whatever. No, it's not like we just decided, one day that, who our target's going to be Cenk Uygur. No, that's ridiculous. And as I said, people wouldn't buy it if there was no there. People wouldn't believe what we're saying and agree with us if there was no there. Zac and I could not successfully just start a witch hunt against whoever we wanted. Like I mentioned it the other day, but if we started to just randomly do a witch hunt against Kyle Kalinske and started making a bunch of videos about how he's a grifter, people would tell us to F off. I'm not kidding you guys. We don't have that much power. The only reason people watch our show is because they agree with us. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is why they like our show, is because we articulate things and give a voice to things that they agree with. If you guys didn't agree with what we were saying, you probably wouldn't watch us. Maybe there would be a few hate watchers or whatever. But like I said, we could not successfully just cancel a good faith political commentator, someone like Kyle or, fill in the blank, Olay. If we started making anti-Olay videos, you think people would fuck with that? No, they would tell us to get fucked, or Sam Cedar. The only reason why people agree with us and channels like us, people that agree with us, is because they see what's happening. And it is heartbreaking as former TYT fans, as people that were once inspired by TYT. Like I've mentioned on the show before I ever thought it was possible that Zac and I would start our own network, or not network, but YouTube channel, I genuinely dreamed of working for the Young Turks. It was one of the first things I was like, shit, remember, when you're like 14, 15, 16, whatever, and it's kind of scary, like as you begin to become an adult, or that's, oh shit, I'm going to actually have to get a job someday. These, not just at AMC, but a real career. One of the first things I ever thought was, it would be fucking awesome to work at either the Criterion Collection or the Young Turks.
Bro, we get big enough. We do closet episode.
Exactly.
One day, Gavin and I are going to make a killer doc and get a closet episode of Criterion.
Anyway, that was where my head was at. And that is why it's so sad, as Francesca said. Because yeah, I would, as much shit as I've talked on Cenk, as much as we've called him the geek and shit, I do wish he was still a weapon for the left. I do still wish he was articulating what he used to articulate, and despite his faults, even despite some of the unforgivable shit like the union busting and stuff, just from a propaganda perspective, yeah, I wish he was on our team.
Oh yeah, dude. And we've given him so much leeway over the years of doing this. Like, we've documented the slow decline of the Young Turks, and I'll confess, that was when I started to become really familiar with Cenk. I saw my first Young Turks episode in like 2018, so it was already kind of late to the party, right? Like, because I found Kyle and Michael Brooks, and then I kind of made my way to the Young Turks like that. So it was a little bit, okay, the prime was maybe over, but what I really saw in Cenk was when he would go on Piers Morgan after October 7th. And I was like, holy shit, dude, you are such an effective vehicle on media. You understand that you need to be dominating the discourse if you have an alternative POV. Yep. You need to be anchoring it in human empathy, your own experience, the fact that you care about human beings. And you would do that with a fire and rage and a moral righteousness that was so warranted that I almost forgave you for all of my previous TYT criticisms. I was like, look, guys, I don't agree with how he runs the company, but we're going to watch this because it's a masterclass in how you absolutely debunk some Israeli IDF agent live on air, right? At Piers Morgan show, or whoever the fuck he was going at against. Rabbi Shmuley, I don't care. He was dominant. He was an attack dog. He would rip out your throat. And it was personal to him. He was anchored to it. His humanity demanded that he spoke out about that, right? And thank God he did. But I just don't think he applies any of that to the fight in domestic politics anymore. Yeah. I don't think he applies that to progressivism anymore. And that's what Gavin and I need from him. If he wants us to turn this shit off, I want him to give back the poly market money. I want him to admit that he was wrong. I want him to say sorry. And I want him to have more real progressives on the Young Turks and say, you know what, guys, I fucked up. Trump, second election, it broke my brain, and I had what can only be described as like a mental breakdown, right? I had a medical episode. I'm going to take 6 months off and go to Tulum and recharge on the beach and have fun with my family and not think about any of this. And then when I come back, I'm ready to fucking fight. We'll all be like, you know what, guys, fuck it. Family life is rough. We all have our ups and downs. You know, families are always rising and falling in America. But Cenk, we're ready to welcome you back.
Yeah, I think that's 100% the case. And that's also what Cenk doesn't understand is like there is still a path for redemption for him and Anna. You know, it seems more unlikely every day. But the left wingers, we are more forgiving than often given credit for. And much like with, as Cenk was saying about the right, like, oh, if you agree with them, they'll accept you. Like, bro, obviously, like, it's not like this is not some, you're not canceled. You know what I'm saying? This is such ridiculous internet logic that you just internalize after being on Twitter for too long. But there's no such thing as actually being fucking canceled. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're still welcome on all these fucking places, bro. You go on any of these shows, and for the most part, the hosts, people like Francesca or Crystal Ball or Mark Lamont Hill, they treat you with fucking respect. They treat you with more respect than you deserve.
I think you're being unbelievably unfair. So you're taking 6 people, 4 of whom are like clearly doing it for money, okay, and clearly doing it for attention. And
I'm not taking anyone. I'm asking you a question.
You accuse me of incredibly unfair things. Can you allow me to respond? Franny, you know the people inside TYT, they work here 15 years, 17 years, 20 years, 17 years, and they love working at TYT. And what these assholes are doing is pretending that we're bad bosses and we're bad to our employees and we're bad to everyone that works at TYT and we do all these things and we push them out. Bullshit. Every one of those people left and they said, oh, I'm going to be bigger and better than you. And then they viciously attacked not just me, but everyone that works at TYT. Why do you think Edwin and Bart and all those guys have been there for so long? We gave people 12 weeks of paid family leave when no one else was doing it. And we did it for moms, we did it for dads. I can go on and on. Franny, to make it seem like I'm pushing people out and that I'm the bad guy here, when in fact, you know for a fact that 98% of the people that work at TYT love TYT and try to stay there forever and ever and ever. Sometimes they'll go to a different company and go, whoa, holy shit, that's bad, and come back to TYT. So please be fair and honest with your audience, because working at TYT has been amazing for those people. And all we're getting is smeared by a couple of people who literally say we want to tear down the network. We got 75 people here that we have to provide for, and they're trying to take food off their table.
Criticism of me and my editorial politics is actually destructive to the working class. Cenk, you might have actually forgotten that you've called for the destruction of mainstream media. I don't know how many people they employ.
Yeah, that's so true. 100%. Cenk says we got to do away with cable news. We got to do away with mainstream media. Yeah, what about all those jobs, Cenk? What about all those families that are going to starve to death? And not even just the mainstream corporate cable outlets. I remember Cenk salivating over the thought of the Blaze TV going under. Remember back in the day before they decided to be friends with Glenn Beck and they actually had beef with the piece of shit? Cenk would fantasize about the day that the Blaze went up in smoke, no pun intended, right? Obviously he wasn't talking about the fucking editors and the people behind the scenes. Obviously he wasn't wishing financial destitution on whoever the fuck was holding the microphone up for Glenn Beck, behind the, that's not what, no one is doing that, dude. You're just creating a straw man to emotionally manipulate people that are on the left and do care about workers into not calling you out. That's all this is about. That's all it's about. You're using these fucking employees that you probably exploit and underpay. If they are properly paid, it's only because of the union that thankfully exists in spite of your efforts. But you're going to use them as human shields against criticism and say, oh, you're not just insulting me, you're insulting Edwin and Barb,
amorphous dudes we don't
or
know.
whatever the fuck, some random person behind
Shadrach and Meshach. I don't fucking know. Those are characters from VeggieTales.
It's no, we're not insulting Edwin, and we're not insulting, Barbarilla or whoever the fuck is editing your videos. That
Glorilla's editing their videos.
Whoever the fuck, you know what I'm saying? We're not insulting those people. We hope that you take care of them. Whatever.
Because me, I'm going to tear down the.
All right, let's get a little bit more of this just to
network. We got 75 people here that we have to provide for, and they're trying to take food off their table because me. I'm going to tear down the left-wing network. Why don't you spend your time, those people that I'm talking about, tearing down the right wing, tearing down Trump, tearing down all these people, instead of sitting there and going, oh, someone on the left is bigger than me, I'm going to tear them down. That's what they're doing.
I think it's a really sore subject, but I did just want to ask. I think yesterday on Mark Lamont Hill's show, you did say that that what your strategy has actually cost you and cost TYT some subscribers, and members, more importantly, who financially support the show. Speaking of putting food on 75 people's table, what is your reaction to that? I know anecdotally there are people who love and support my show, even though I truly don't talk about my disagreements with you. And God, Cenk, I've bent over backwards. The reason my show is at 1 p.m. is because it's right before you, right in between when TYT doesn't have any show. I've bent over very backwards to accommodate TYT. But there are people who love my show who say, I had to stop supporting TYT for a lot of political disagreements. And what do you say to those people, or how does that make you feel?
I refuse to be wrong on purpose. So we lost a lot of members and paying subscribers when I started criticizing Obama from the left. And I said he shouldn't be drilling in the Gulf, and he shouldn't be bailing out the bankers without any consequences, etc. And people were outraged, but I didn't do it because I didn't know the term back then, but I know it now. It's called audience capture, and I'm not going to do it. So if you say at the time, people are like, no,
I already kind of addressed this, but it's not just your fucking audience, bro. I understand the concept of audience capture. For one, it's not what's happening to you. Your audience is actually calling you out. They're not trying to trap you into some position you don't have. They're actually pissed because they see what you're doing, and you've accurately identified the exact same thing in the past when executed by people like Dave Rubin and Jimmy Dore. But like I said, don't take it from your audience. Maybe you're right. Don't look at the comments too much. They're going to start fucking with your mind and, telling you what to believe and, pushing back too much, whatever. Don't take it from your audience. Take it from the fucking TYT family, the people that you built this entire operation with from the ground up. People like Francesca, people like Mondale, Ben Dixon, etc. All these people, Hank, that at one point genuinely trusted you. Again, you don't even have to look at the audience. It's not audience capture. But if everyone important in your life, everyone you've surrounded yourself with who loves you and cares about you and wants to see your business succeed is telling you something and saying, hey, bro, this seems kind of like a red flag, maybe you should take them seriously. It's not crazy to, consider. It's really not.
Be pro Obama. I'm like, no, I'm not going to lie to you on purpose. And now some folks are saying, no, tell us the far left is totally right. And then that like there is no crime and on and on and on, right? No, I'm not going to be purposely wrong. And so I'm not going to do audience capture, and I'm not going to say that. And so how could I be a grifter and say at the same time, I'm willing to sacrifice a lot of money that I'm super worried about for all of us at TYT to do the right thing? That's the exact opposite of grifting. That's saying I'm standing on principle. I'm standing on what I think is the real viewers of TYT and representing them. And Franny, what you're not seeing is there's so many people on the left who are afraid to state their real opinions because they're going to get shellacked online. All the far left is going to come out and call them a right winger and a fascist, etc. They're so scared.
That's such bullshit too. I remember like a year or two ago, Kyle Kalinske came out here, made a bunch of videos about how like defund the police was a stupid slogan and how it didn't actually, sell the genuinely good policy in a valid way or something. I think we both disagreed with him. We don't have to rehash the whole argument, obviously. But the point is, that was a hot take. Bunch of people at the time, ourselves included, were like, hell yeah, defund the fucking police at the very least. You know what I'm saying? And Kyle pushed back. He didn't get crucified. He didn't get fucking, canceled. Why? Because everyone always will have an unpopular opinion every once in a while within their niche, within their community. It's inevitable. I've had hot takes on the show that Zach has pushed back on, and vice versa. Like I said, it happens all the time. There's actually not this orthodoxy, and it's not enforced with some authoritarian
it's actually good
iron fist. Exactly. The difference is when someone like Kyle has an unpopular opinion or a hot take that gets disagreed with, it's usually not part of a larger trend, right? Like I said, everyone's going to have unpopular opinions. If you're a thinking individual who's not just a sheep going where the fucking flock is, like, yeah, you're going to have an unpopular opinion. Like I said, I'm sure you guys can remember times in our channel's history where Zach and I have said something that you probably didn't agree with, that maybe even the left broadly doesn't agree with. It is what it is. But if you start having these, anti-left-wing hot takes, like, every fucking month, and it becomes like a new feature of your programming where it's like, let's look at all the shit the max left has said that's so crazy and radical and that clearly cost the Democrats the election. Well, at that point, it's not really just like a one-off hot take that people disagree with. At that point, it becomes a trend, and a trend that usually points to a certain road that you're going down, one that we've seen before and are quite familiar with. That's why people are pissed off. But Cenk has always had hot takes.
To actually state their own opinions, because the far left has so much more power than they realize in terms of the social media ecosystem.
Sure,
right?
I agree. And I do think that it would benefit all of us to be a little bit less online, because I do think there is a real left. They are in labor unions. They work in homes. They, they are serving people Starbucks, right? Like there are real leftists. Yes. They are, let's be real, they are on the streets demonstrating for Palestinian human rights. They've been on the streets, although I know this gets into prickly territory, but they've been on the streets saying things like defund the police, saying things like Black Lives Matter. And I know you might disagree with them, but there are real leftists who don't just live online. And so I hear you about, I absolutely concede our movements. We always talk about this. How can our movements be more attractive?
Am I saying that I was more working class, or more of a leftist because I'm working class? I'm saying I'm closer to the financial issues for sure than Cenk Uygur is. That's without a doubt. So are you, Cosmic Wanderer.
Be as Michael Albert, who wrote this book called Participatory Economics, he used to say, how do we make the left sticky, where people want to be there and stay there? And it's for sure, it's by not over policing one another, and it's by meeting people where they're at. And I think that is absolutely true. But for me, it is not about, it's not about what I see is conceding to a right-wing framing within the ceiling of Trumpism, because there's always a ceiling, and that ceiling is Donald Trump.
But Franny, I'm not conceding, and facts have to matter. Facts have to matter.
Well,
like you're painting me as a collaborator when I haven't collaborated at all.
We played this clip earlier. We don't have to play it again, where Cenk effectively dismantles Tucker Carlson and what he does when he has people. I believe in the clip he's referencing Jimmy Dore, although he didn't say it. He says, oh, when you go on Tucker Carlson. But there was a real time where it was hot to be like, I'm a pretend leftist and I'm going to go on Tucker Carlson and I'm going to lick his balls a little bit and act cute. And then, eventually run off to the right wing. We saw Tulsi Gabbard do it. We saw Jimmy Dore do it. I think Matt Taibbi went on Tucker Carlson right there. It was the, usual suspects. But what Cenk pointed out was, look, dude, the reason they don't have people like me on, Kyle Kalinski's told a similar story. He got invited on Fox one time. They debated top marginal tax rate over a Cory Bush quote, and he never got invited back, right? It was just like, oh, yeah, we don't like somebody that's going to shred our argument and talk about how the way we posed the first question is bullshit, right? What they want you to do is go say, actually, I agree with you about this. Oh, actually, I agree with you about this, right? Because it launders their reputation. So that's why we say you have joined forces with them, because you are a net benefit to them, because you're laundering their dirty, smelly, disgusting, rotten reputations.
All I've done is argue for our positions. And in fact, you showed a couple of times when I argued for our positions. Right. And if you showed all the right wing shows that I was on, you would see me fighting for left wing positions on right wing shows that no one's ever done. And you know that on the Patrick
I've been on Piers Morgan. I do that a lot.
So, oh yeah, if you count Piers Morgan, I totally agree with you. So on Patrick Bet-Davis show, I made the second to last time I was on, I made a case for paid family leave. They polled their audience. 75% of that right wing audience said, yes, we should pass paid family leave. Who else has done that? And for that, I get called.
Ask them if they support a single politician that you think would push for that. No, what they care about is bringing back the trad wife. Cenk, you're playing chess against people who, at least in the position of the PBDs of the world, they're playing checkers, okay? And that's why you look like a little boy against grown-ups.
Called a collaborator, and I implicate others in my collaboration. Can you not see how unfair that is?
So what is the goal then? Do you hope that maybe some of those 75% are people who heard your argument around paid family leave are like, you know what? Let me check out TYT. Like, let me see what they're about. Like, I liked what he said on this one thing. Is that also the goal?
So the strategy is to coalesce populists on the thing. Now I'm saying it for the 200th time because it's not getting through.
Well, it's not about audience then. It's not about maybe getting some of their audience. Because I understand, I don't know what you're talking about in like what framework. So are you a movement leader? Are you going to start a political party, or are you just the head of an online channel?
A presidential candidate, Francesca, please.
I mean, the latter is what we know to be true, right?
Yeah. So look, when Jimmy left and other people left, oh yeah, Young Turks is going down, blah 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 blah. No, it was total nonsense. Never had any issues. Here, this is a giant fight, and we do have issues. Okay, and so that is standing on principle. No, it's not like I didn't know that we were going to get into this huge issue, right? And that the other left-wing hosts were going to take this as a great opportunity to try to whittle us down. And so we've gone through all that, and we've done that. So why am I doing it? Number one, because I believe absolutely that it is the right strategy and the right policy, and to the ultimate goals that you're asking about. Franny, number one, we've got to win the primary 2028. So why am I saying things where I go, hey, I'm center left and I do not agree with far left? Because I believe far left will be used, and you can disagree. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing. Kyle Kalinski disagreeing, no problem. You disagreeing, no problem. Jordan, everybody disagrees, no problem. It's only when they lie and they do bad faith is when I've got the issue. Okay. So you guys disagree, no problem, guys. Okay. But my goal is, number one, in order to win that primary, we've got to convince the normies that we're not going to release all the criminals. I know it sounds like hyperbole, and I know that really bothers people, but that's how they're thinking. That's why Oakland, we call their mayor 65-35, because now they started to think that the word progressive means release the criminals. No, it doesn't mean that. It means Medicare for all. It means paid family leave. It means higher wages. So that's why I have to distinguish in order to win that primary between the center left and the far left, and also because it's true, I am center left, and the great majority of those voters are center left. They do not agree with the far left on some of the extreme trans issues, crime issues, etc.
You don't think that
when we get to the general election, just to finish the thought, when we get to the general election, can we win over some of those former Bernie people that went to the right wing? Can we win over the independents and moderates that are not MAGA but voted for Trump because they says Trump was more anti-establishment than Kamala Harris was? Can we win those guys over so that our side wins? I believe we can, but and I'll use myself as an example again. So when they tried the Muslim ban, I have every right to call them Islamophobe from here to the end of the earth. I have every right to be concerned about me and my family, okay? But I don't believe it's the right strategy to call them Islamophobes and to push them away. I think the correct strategy is to go in the room, get some agreement on some things that we agree on, and then fight over the things we don't agree on, but treat each other as American citizens.
You can call the left authoritarians, but you can't call racist Republicans Islamophobic. Like, what the fuck even is the strategy, bro? You're clearly just trying to get rich. That's all that's going on here, because the people you're all of a sudden very sensitive towards and want to put on the kid gloves when you talk about happen to control the fucking purse strings. And guess what? We don't control that. We don't have any fucking money. No one on the left does. But everyone that Cenk wants to cuddle up to and be all nice to and not call a racist now happens to know where the fucking money is buried.
As in human beings. And then at the end go, hey, by the way, I'm Muslim. Okay. So do you think someone like me should be banned from the country?
Oh my God.
And when you do it that way, 9 out of 10 times they go, well, no, of course not. Of course not. But if I came in and I said, you're an Islam.
Yeah, and then you turn around and they vote to deport you anyway, Cenk. I'm sorry, but that's what's going to happen. You might go and they'll be like, well, that was a nice Muslim guy, but, you can't take any chances. His cousin might be a terrorist. Let's ban all of the Muslims. That's how these people think, Cenk. They're not being honest actors when they sit across from you. They're allowing you to launder they're allowing you to launder their reputation. And then when you leave, they're going to talk shit behind your back. Okay, that's what they're going to do. They're going to be like, even this crazy, Turkish guy agrees with us. You know what I mean? Wow, crazy. He's Muslim and he still thinks it's okay to ban them. You know what I mean? Like, he won't say it, but he's kind of on our side. That's what they interpret, Cenk. They don't think, wow, that's a reasonable lefty that's making a good point.
Exactly. They just view these people as tokens. That's all that it is. That's why the only trans people they give a fuck about are ones that hate their own community, like Caitlyn Jenner and Blair White and shit. Same with a lot of different ethnic groups. What was that one Muslim lady who would just go around constantly shit talking Muslims? Remember that?
Not particularly, but it's like Candace Owens coded.
I'm a phobic. You're a racist and a bigot. They'd say, ban this mother effer, right? And so I just think you guys have the wrong strategy and some wrong policies. But that's a normal.
If only I'm a model minority. Cenk, you don't have to buy into their phony logic. You're allowed to immigrate to this country just the way that they're allowed to exist in this country. You don't have to submit to their stupid bullshit that you have to be a model citizen for you to have rights.
Yeah, he's basically like doing the Samuel L. Jackson and Django Unchained. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll be the good one. Is that not what this is? I'll be safe.
Yeah, exactly.
A healthy debate. We could have had that debate without people making wild accusations.
Well,
instead of just saying we disagree, they're collaborator, right-wing, fascist, etc.
I really hope that you do, and I hope, let's leave it. I really do hope that you can get past what you feel are slights, to actually speak to some of the people that you're talking about, to be in more rooms with leftists who you may disagree with, and more people who are ultimately on your side. I've had the same conversation with Van Jones back in 2016, man. It's like I'm deja vuing all over again, where I told him the left is more on your side than the right. And he's like, no, the left wants to tear me down. But anyway, Cenk, it's really great to have such a candid, open conversation. I like that we can both be very Mediterranean about it and get like super mad, but then rein it in and be cool and then be like, we're just going to yell and then we're going to be fine. And then we're
To be fair, I also enjoy that kind of a dynamic. You know what? The hot and cold approach. It's like blow off steam and then simmer down.
So that's the kind of beer I like to have.
Yes, thank you.
And but not with Charlie Kirk. And I will leave it at that. Everybody, you can check out all of.
Boom. So good interview. Was there anything else you wanted to play, Gavin?
I think that's it.
Cool. We have reacted to that shit. Go check out the Bitchuation Room, y'all. I believe we got to the bottom of the fact that it is not affiliated with Cenk Uygur at all. Even if it was, go support Francesca. We need voices like hers that are willing to speak up. She put her fucking stones on the table. She risked a lot for that. And, we're really obviously she doesn't give a fuck what we think, but we're proud of her, dude. That was awesome.
Oh yeah, super proud of her. She came really prepared for that. And that's the thing about Cenk is like he may be kind of a bloviating idiot at this point, but don't underestimate the motherfucker. He is still a powerful orator, communicator, whatever you want to say. He's good at gaslighting. He's good at emotional manipulation, right? And I think that, like I said, with all due respect to Jordan Ewell and Mark Lamont Hill and the other people that have taken on Cenk, it's without a doubt Francesca did the best job. She came the most prepared. She had receipts ready to go. She had specific things ready to point out, ready to point to prove exactly the point she was making. And all Cenk could do was stammer and stutter and go and contradict himself 300 times in the same goddamn sentence. I mean, it's completely ridiculous. And again, anyone that watched that debate saw the mask come off. It was completely obvious. Cenk has no actual substantive defense for what he's doing. And you know that because literally less than 2 years ago, he was saying the exact opposite. When Jimmy Dore was pulling the shit, he said the exact opposite. He called it for what it fucking was. And like I said, I mean, there's certain issues now where Jimmy Dore is literally more of a leftist. I hate to say it. I would never give the guy credit, but regardless of a few issues, they're really not that much different now. They're at the point now where it's really not that much different. So anyway, completely embarrassing, but shout out to Francesca. Really appreciate her doing the dirty work, getting in there, taking Cenk to task. Job well done.
Steely Dan style. She did the dirty work.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir.